Okay, hi everyone. Dr. Mark Petering here with Chapter 3 of Music Theory Part Writing Shorts. Today we're going to be talking about chords in first and second inversions. I'll do a little bit of melodic harmonization as well as suspensions. Okay, so let's first start out with a nice 1 to 1/6 simple progression here. We're going to use a technique known as voice exchange. So my bass is dictated by obviously the Roman numeral and the figure bass, so C to E. And when you do a voice exchange, you have to have whatever's in the bass happen in an opposite manner in one of the top three voices. So if I want C to E, then I have to find up here an E to C possibility. So the only place where there's an E in the top three voices is right here. So I'm going to go E to C in the tenor voice. Okay, and this creates what we call a voice exchange. And then you hold the other two notes common in both chords. Okay, so we have C to E, E to C, and then the other two voices are common. All right? And if you had this type of setup, you'd have C to E and then E to C up here, and you'd have these two voices common, so the voice exchange would be right here. This is still another 1 to 1/6, right? And of course, you can do these with other chords. You can do a 4 to 4/6, that sort of thing, or a 5 to 5/6. But just as an example, here's a 1 to 1/6 voice exchange. Good. Let's try using voice exchange twice in a sentence, if you will. Let's go 1 to 1/6, 4 to 4/6 to 5. And I like to start with a really nice big open chord. At the beginning here. This is a better setup where you have an octave between the bass and tenor. You're going to have a lot of room then to move your bass upwards without crossing into the other voice's territory, if you will. So I'm going to start my bass voice first, okay? And then here we go with voice exchange. C to E. So I have to find the E up here somewhere. So here's the E. That's going to go down to C. And then I'm going to keep my other voices common. Once you understand the principle and the rules behind this, it almost writes itself. Okay, now you have a 1/6 to a 4. So this is an FAC chord. Well, I'm going to keep the C common. I'm going to keep this C common. I'm going to go to an A here, right? Because I just need the chordal third someplace, and this is a logical place to put it. So it's a stepwise solution. And now I'm going 4 to 4/6. So I go F to A in the bass. Now I have to find an A up here to go down to F. So here's my A. I'm going to go down to F. And I'm going to go common tones here. And then 4/6 to 5. It might make sense to go to a D here, stepwise. Go down to a B here, and then double the root by having the G there. It's a beautiful progression. And again, here we're starting with our voice exchange here. So you have C to E, and then E to C. Here we have another voice exchange, F to A to F. And then a nice resolution from a 4/6 to a 5. So you can pause the video. Okay, let's continue on now. Let's look at another first inversion scenario. How about just a sort of an ordinary 1 to 5/6 to 1 progression? It's kind of ordinary, but this can cause some folks some trouble. And we're going to show you how to stay out of trouble, right? So let's do our bass first. So here we have C, B, C. And now some students sometimes forget that you can't double the leading tone, and they'll go C, B, C up here. This is wrong, okay? This is not good. Okay, so I cannot double the leading tone, which is B, so I'm going to go to a D here instead. Okay, and I'll go back to the C here. And that means if I've got a B and a D, I'll put the G here common, and put another D here. That's perfectly okay. All right, and then go back to the E and the G there. Okay, so this is a successful solution to the 1-5-6-1 problem without doubling your leading tone. And again, with only having stepwise motion and common tones. That's another important thing here. If this was C minor, we'd obviously put a natural to make that a B natural, not a B flat. But the note heads would be in the same location. Okay? Good. Let's look at chords in second inversion now. So the first one I want to introduce you to is the neighbor 6/4 chord. And I'm going to add some helper notes here. I'm going to put the 5-3. Those are sort of invisible 5-3s, right? That just means a chord in root position. Now with the neighbor 6/4, the bass stays the same the whole way through. That's just something you have to memorize. And you're going to also double the bass in any 6/4 chord. You're going to learn that as well. So I'm going to introduce that concept to here also. Whenever you have a 6/4 chord, you double the bass. And let's analyze where our 5 is and where our 3 is. So 5 above the bass is right here in the tenor. 3 above the bass is right here in the alto. Okay, so here we have a little road map. So 5 goes to 6 above the bass. So G above C is 5. What's 6 above C? Well, that's A. I'm going to put that here. And then we go back to the 5. Okay, so there's a little road map here, 5, 6, 5, if you will. Here's 3, 4, 3. So this is 3 above the bass is E, 4 above the bass is F, 3 above the bass is E again. Okay? That's a neighbor 6/4, so make sure you have that in your notes, and of course that stays the same there. Good, let's try a passing 6/4, very different setup. So in the passing 6/4, the bass does not stay the same. Okay, so you're going to have a D here and an E here. You're filling in, essentially the function of a passing 6/4 is to literally fill in the gap between a 1 and a 1/6. Okay, it's a very elegant, sophisticated way to fill in that gap in the bass. And again, you're going to want to ask yourself, what is a 6 above the bass and what is a 4 above the bass? So 6 above D is B, okay, and a 4 above D is G, and then we know the rule, you double the bass in a 6/4 chord. Look at this, no leaping in any voice here. Okay. And then we know we're going C to E, so this voice here that has the E has to ultimately move down to C, okay? And this is an outer leading tone, so that's going to go to C, and then you're going to keep the common tone G. So here you still have the voice exchange. You're just filling it in with a P6/4. And if this was the minor mode, you'd have a natural sign here in front of the B. Okay? Great. Let's look at a cadential 6/4 now. Okay? So this is a special 6/4 chord that's used at the end of phrases. It's called a cadential 6/4. So here we have, let's just do a simple progression. 1, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 5, 3, 1. Okay? And when you do these, one thing you need to remember is when you see a 6, 4, 5, 3 indication, 5, 6, 4, 5, 3, you have scale degree 5 twice in the bass. You have scale degree 5 twice in the bass. So make sure your bass setup looks like this. Okay? And now we go about using all the skills we've learned. So when we went to a 4 chord, remember we had the common tone C here and the F and the A. Okay? And now this chord is sort of mapped out for us with a 6/4 instruction. So this just means 6/4 means what's a 6 above G and what's a 4 above G. So 6 above G is going to be an E, and the most logical place where it's stepwise would be to put the E there. You also need a C above the bass somewhere up here in the top 3 voices, because a 4 above G is C, so I'm going to keep the common tone here. And then we've learned that you double the bass in any 6/4 chord, so I'm going to keep the G here. Another rule is when you have 6/4 to 5/3, you just keep those common tones with those bass notes, the G and the G, wherever the G is up in the top 3 voices. Here it's in the tenor, and you keep the G again common. So here you have a 6 above G, and here you have a 4 above G. And I'm going to follow the roadmap. 6 drops to 5 above, right? D is 5 above G, okay? And 4 above G is C. I have to go to a 3rd above G. So that's going to be your B, okay? And then you just finish it off. We've seen this setup with a 5 chord before. And you just finish it like this, okay? So here's your 4 to 3, and here's your 6 to 5, just like the roadmap indicates. And you get a nice cadential 6/4. So please study this and make sure it's in your notes. Okay, so let's use these first inversion and second inversion chords in a melodic harmonization. So let's just say you wanted to harmonize scale degrees 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, or do, re, mi, fa, mi, re, do. Well, the nice thing when you see 1, 2, and 3, you know you got to ultimately you're going from scale degree 1 to scale degree 3. That might imply a voice exchange, and so we can also use these voice exchanges in sort of reverse order. So instead of going 1 to 1, 6, you can go 1, 6 to 1 and fill it in with a P6/4. Okay? So you can obviously reverse the voice exchange. And so I'm starting my chord progression this way. And I'm going to use the idea of doubling the bass, which is happening here already. In a P6/4, 6 above, D is B, 4 above D is G. So look at that common tone, that's nice. And then I get to keep that common tone there again and put a C there. So look at this, now we're starting with our biggest open chord that we typically use at the beginning of progressions right here at the 1 chord. And then you know what? We've seen this chord progression before. 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 5, 3, 1. So I'm going to go like this. write my bass first. That's always a good idea. And I'm going to keep that common tone C and put the A there. And 4 above G is C, 6 above G is already E, so that's already built in there. So I'll just put 4 here, and this is the 6, if you will, using the figured bass down here. And again, I have to double the bass, and look, that G is a nice stepwise distance away from A. And then I work the numbers. 4 goes to 3, 6 goes to 5, that's already there. Again, look at the G. I'm going to drop to the chordal third and triple my root. Very successful melody harmonization using both first inversion chords and 6/4 chords. Okay, let's talk about suspensions. These sound beautiful for choir. They also sound fantastic for orchestra or band. And they're just a wonderful way to create tension and release in music. Okay, so this is useful for any sort of genre of music. Here we have a 1 to 5 4/3 suspension. We're going from the 1 chord to the 5 chord, but there's going to be a little delay in resolving to all of the notes of the 5 chord, which of course is G, B, D. However, we have to deal with this 4 here. And so how do we do that? Well, we ask ourselves, again, what is 4, or what's a fourth above the bass, which is G? And the answer is C. So I have to find a C in the previous top 3 voices to suspend. Okay, so the C happens to be up here, so I'm going to write my C like this. Okay, and you could tie it or you could leave it alone. You don't need the tie for it to be a suspension, but nonetheless, I'm finding that common tone, and then I'm going to drop to a 3 above G. Okay, and the other voices you'd write logically as if you were doing just an ordinary 1 to 5 progression without the suspension. So here we'd keep the common tone, and here we'd have the D. And this C being held or being reiterated when the bass changes is just an absolutely fantastic sound. And our textbook tells us that here's the preparation, here's the suspension, and here's the resolution. So remember PSR, preparation, suspended note, and then the resolution. I'm going to start with the 1 chord here. And now this is a little tricky. You're actually ending up on a 4/6 chord. Okay, so be sure that you have an A in the bass, not an F, but an A, because this is a first inversion chord. And now, then you ask yourself, what's a 7th above this bass note, which happens to be an A? So 7th above A is G, so the G happens to be in the tenor voice. So I'm going to put my suspended note in the same voice that had the preparation note. And then I resolve down to F here. And then here I can keep the common tone and put the F there. So that's a really nice example of a 4/7/6 chord. And again, these sound fantastic in any ensemble, particularly choir. Okay, thanks everyone. See you in the next chapter.